don't feel comfortable with talking, but
Okay.
kind of we'll regroup about last time we met. So obviously, going to talk about our customer experience engine, and so what we've been talking about, those that are new, is the engine of what SWOZ, how to build your customer experience, and what do you need to focus on when building your engine. And last week we focused on customer insight, and really what we focused on, really good conversations, because this went so many different ways last week,
Yeah,
Ronnie. It
it
was
is.
fun. Is what does your ideal customer profile look like, right? So in your business, who are you focusing on? What are the demographics? What, is there a revenue? Is it what? I mean, we had some. Man, I forgot the two names of two real estate agents that it was really good discussing how they go to business and who they focus on. So
Yeah.
that was just kind of a recap of last week. And so this week we want to talk about biggest gear in our engine is our operational excellence. And
Okay.
what does operations look like, and what do we need to do in our operations? So I always start this off like, okay, so anybody in this group right now, can you tell me a company that you love, and what do you think their operational standards are? Now, I'm going to show like 6 or 7 examples tonight, but I'm curious if anybody says, hey, I love so-and-so, and I know this is their big standard.
Well, you know me, I'll start it off, man. I love the hell out of Chick-fil-A, even though I know that's y'all background. I know Scotch stuff. I love the hell out of Chick-fil-A and the operations and, the customer service, man. It's unbelievable. If everybody was like that, we'll be good.
Yeah. Chick-fil-A is a great example. And Rodney, we'll have a couple more examples about that, because
Okay. Yeah.
their standards, they have. I was with an operator last week, and she's like, we might have more standards than any other business. I can't keep up with all the standards we have. So it was very interesting. So
Yeah. So everybody on the call, listen, please participate. Don't sit back
yeah.
and be shy. Ask the question, or at least try to, expound on what you think is a good company. So don't make me call you out, Guy and Sonya and Nevin and Victoria. Y'all better come on, say something. Damn, it went quiet.
It did go quiet, but that's all right. I got plenty of examples to come, so it might get people talking here shortly. And look, it's only slide. I think it's my 4th slide. I at least made it one more play than Aaron Rodgers did. Oh, too soon.
Oh, that was low blow, man.
Too soon. It is. I feel so bad for him right now, actually.
So I'll jump in here, but before Rodney jumped in, as I know he was going to jump in, I was going to say another restaurant, Houston's, but also I could talk to some of the hotels, some of the upper end hotels, Four Seasons, and a lot of the things that they do. They know your name, they know your likes, so they can provide the amenities for you before you even get there. There's a lot of services and food things that actually do it right for me.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. Dean
yeah.
Jones, I'm surprised Dean is very quiet, and he's come from that world. DJ.
Yeah, Marriott comes to mind, having worked there and having trained there for the first part of my career. They have high standards globally. And one of the few places that I would rest my head down and feel comfortable that I'm in a very nice place.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people definitely can relate to the Marriotts and the hotels. Those are definitely ones that have to have high standards when you're definitely staying at a nice hotel.
Yeah, they're most hotels in the world, most people don't realize they're property management companies, right? And they're usually invested in by insurance companies. And Marriott has their standards are so high that if you drop below 55%, they come and snatch their name off the tower. So yeah, they don't play.
No, they don't. So that was my early background, was working hotels. There was a private investment group that had four Marriotts, and yeah, they always told us if you fall below 70, so they must have been just hyping us up. Don't go below that. So
they're padding it.
What was that guy?
They were padding.
Oh.
Oh yeah. they were making sure we didn't hit that mark. They're like, no, we're not going that close. So, but I think as we go into this, I think there's businesses that we really enjoy, and there are things that make up the business of, not just how they treat us as people, but obviously there's standards and what they want to try to achieve. So, as we jump into this, obviously our first in sequence in what we talk about when we talk about operational excellence is, can I trust you? Right? It's the biggest thing that we talk about is when businesses is, can your customers trust you? And we throw this out there because we love it. It's every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets. So every system is perfectly designed to get the result it gets. And when we talk with companies, we throw this out there because if you're not happy with the standards you're getting or where you're at, the scores you're getting, one is you have people and systems, and most time it's like, what is your system designed to do for your people? So as we talk about that, go into operations, we jump into a couple things and start talking about this. So what do your customers trust you to do? So Dean, I'm gonna throw you back on there. What do you think? Let's pick on Marriott, just a good brand. What do you think their customers trust them to do when I go to a Marriott? What are the things I trust them to do?
The first thing is the customer experience when you check into the room, to make sure that check-in experience is, above standard, making sure that you are valued, you feel valued when you check into the hotel. The next step up is when you get to the room, is the room to your liking, right? Is the room clean? Is it sanitized? Especially now in the COVID age, hotels have to meet a whole different line of standards now. So you want to make sure that you have a good reputation, and then from an appearance standpoint, when you check into the place, right? Because most people don't even think the first floor, the lobby floor, when you're catching your elevator up to the top floors, and then when you get on the actual floors, does the hotel appear clean? Is it clean? All of that stuff counts, right? And that's what they get rated on too, right? You'll see some of the sites and some of the surveys that they keep track of to measure impact around, the whole experience of being there. And then what I used to pride myself on, because I used to be part of the food and beverage group at Marriott, is if you get a Marriott hamburger in a place like where I was from, I'm originally from Bermuda, so that hamburger would have the same make as a burger if it was here in the United States, right? So it's that consistency of product and service that you should get or expect when you stay at a Marriott.
No, and I love because we're going to talk about that word consistency here shortly, but it very similar to like what Chick-fil-A, right? They expect you to have the same fries, the same chicken sandwich wherever you go, right? To have that same experience. And Dean, I think you said it first. You said it best: is what are our first impressions when we're doing business, right? When we talk about the hotel, I mean, I think when we walk in a hotel and if we're like, ooh, this, if it looks dirty and feels dirty when you walk in, it makes you a little nervous to go to the room. So, those are the things that we got to think about when our business is, what is that first impression and what do you think our standards are and what do our clients use us for? What do they use us for? So those are the things we talk about. And then as we talk about it, can I trust you? Right? We throw this rebuilding trust with a client is like rebuilding a collapsed bridge. It takes time, effort, and a solid foundation to ensure it's even stronger than before. The reason I throw this out there is one, we don't want to ever rebuild trust, right? So we have to build something, our operations, to where they can trust us every single time, because we've all been there where we messed up for a client and it took a lot longer to gain the trust. They were okay with how we handled things, but it's like, are you sure you want to do business with us again? And then it's like, man, I don't want them to ever feel like that. So trust is a big thing, but we always talk I'll jump ahead a little bit, but who can tell me there's one word that can really help trust with a client and a business? If you're B2B, B2C, there's one word that can influence trust so much. Begins with a C. I'll give a hint. Communication. We talk about what does your communication look like? You know, are you communicating when things are delayed? Are we communicating when, you know, we messed up on something, or are we not, you know, those type of communications and how we're doing it can gain a lot of trust with our client versus not communicating at all. So
Right. Matthew, I'm glad you brought this point up because the banks, right, they have been struggling since 2008, right? Now, the trust that they have lost when they failed, right?
oh yeah.
And now they're still trying. I mean, companies like Wells Fargo are still struggling with that concept of rebuilding the brand and rebuilding their trust. And then when you look at the IT companies and some of these Fortune 5 companies that get breached, right? When I was looking at Microsoft, um, I was a part of 3 breaches, and I can actually give you the names because they actually published the breaches, right? So one was was Molson Coors, right? Can you imagine they couldn't even brew a can of beer at Molson, right? That's how bad it was. The only beer that they had for about 6 weeks was the beer that they had in the warehouse.
Mm.
They couldn't brew beer. That's how impacted they were by this ransomware that they had gotten bitten by, when they had their breach. And then Brinker International, the restaurant company that's based here in Dallas, they got breached, and it was a phishing exercise where one of the executives actually clicked on an email and got compromised, and the entire system went down. So they were down for about a month, right? So that meant us helping them to clean up that whole environment to the point that we had to rebuild it.
Yeah.
And it's a very expensive proposition when you have to do stuff like that. And then another breach that I was a part of was ConAgra, right? When you think of what ConAgra does, they're a major cog in the supply chain when it comes to food. You, they're one of the top 6 companies when it comes to, like, hey, if no food comes out of ConAgra, some of the shelves in on the East Coast are going to be empty.
Yeah.
So you have to look at, just rebuilding, like you said, rebuilding the trust, but rebuilding the brand as well. Because now, when you see that stuff in the newspaper or magazines or worse on the internet now, that your brand and your risk goes. I mean, the ability for people to trust you anymore goes way down.
Oh yeah. And I agree. I mean, it's anytime you mess up, even when your data's breached, right? It's just like people like, all right, how secure are things, right? And then
Right.
it's just any opportunity we give a client to where we have a hiccup or something. Now it's, what we have to do is make up for it. And that's in our operations. Look, we're never going to be perfect. I mean, if you want to be perfect, those are pretty high standards, but I at least want to be 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, right? Most of the time. So, but it's that 1 or 2 times that we do have a hiccup. Well, how do we handle it?
Right.
So as we jump forward, we talked about this in the original, but I kind of threw it in a review is, how do you increase operational excellence? Well, one, you hire with excellence. And we talk about the 3 C's. This is something that Chick-fil-A focuses a lot on is character, chemistry, and competence. And when we talk about this, I like to bring up, and I'll pick on somebody else, but let's see, Nevin, are you there?
I am.
I was gonna say, when you when hiring or looking for somebody, which one of the 3 or which one would you focus on? All of them, 2 of them, or one of them on the 3 C's that you see in front of you when hiring?
Obviously I would try to focus on all 3. However, we probably gravitate to competence first, and then kind of internally, you think you get a feel for chemistry, but unfortunately, we're not looking at diversity of mix. We're probably looking at, people that are more like me kind of thing. And then character, I think when we talk about character, we still, from an organization, need to make sure that we're clear on what we stand for so that we're looking for folks that kind of stand behind that as well.
No, it's interesting. You went with competence first. So usually, a lot of people usually go with character and chemistry. But I'm curious now what company and the background is. Cause
I knew he was going to go there.
Cause
I want to
yeah.
tell you, I work for Dart. I'm the chief marketing officer for Dart.
Okay. I was gonna say usually when in the competence world, it's usually something with, engineering, IT, something very specialized that it's like, no, I need people that have this. So, but yeah, we want to hire for all three, right? Is character, chemistry. Do they have good character? Are they competent? Do they know what they're doing, and do they have good chemistry?
And if I could cut in, the only thing I would say is competence, because you're looking at someone's paper first.
Right.
So you're looking at their qualifications. And so you're screening out those that don't have the qualifications first and foremost. And then you go through the interviewing process. Obviously, the character and chemistry start coming to the foreground.
No, and that's a great example, right? Because if they don't have it on the paper, then you probably don't ever give them a look, right? So it's actually so it's interesting because that's the first time I've ever heard that point of view, and I've done this now like 60 times this year. So it's like,
hey, hey, listen, Matt, you gotta get to know David.
Yeah, I know. I need to talk. So no, I like it. Now, if you hear me again and I use it again, I'll give reference to you. Okay. So, but the 3 C's is what we focus on when we're hiring. So hire with excellence, put a leader on it. You guys have probably heard, like, anybody ever told their kids, like, I have 3 boys and I got to tell them to feed the dog, right? So who do you think is going to actually feed the dog?
You.
Yeah, me, because my boys are what? They're going to point at each other saying, oh, I thought so-and-so did it. So-and-so did it. So when we talk about operational excellence, whatever you're focusing on, make sure that there's one person that's really driving this for your team and working on those things. And then the last one is focus on excellence, do less. Everybody here heard of the 80-20 rule?
Yeah.
Right? 80% of your problems come from 20% of your business. And then, but I always use the example, everybody here, so we talk a lot about food. So those that have not eaten, I'm sorry. But Cheesecake Factory, anybody eating at the Cheesecake Factory?
Oh yeah. Just had pancakes on Sunday.
So have you ever, so Dean, you ever seen their menu?
Oh yeah. I'm
too much.
food and beverage, my friend.
It's too much. It's way too much.
Too much, right? I love the Cheesecake Factory. It's a great place, but I just knock on their menu, right? So when we talk about what are we offering, what are the products that we offer, let's focus on the ones that we're really good at. And I'll put Leanne and I. That's what.
But you know what they do very well, Matthew?
What do they do?
They have a large menu, but they don't waste a lot of food, because a lot of the food that they have on their menu, if you look at it from a food cost perspective, I always look at it from being a chef, right? Having been a chef before. I always look at it from that. Flour, water, baking powder, and sugar are cheap. So think about all the stuff that gets made with those types of ingredients. Pizzas are cheap. Pasta is cheap. So they've got low food costs, but look at the price. Pancakes, almost $15, $20 for three pancakes. So you're making great profit, and that's the way I look at it. I go to a restaurant, I always look at it from being the chef, the previous guy cooking all the stuff. And I tell my wife that all the time. She's like, man, they got all this stuff on this menu. I say, yeah, it's all cheap, and they're making a ton of money on the back end of this.
Well, and they do, but you're right, Dean. I mean, their kitchens aren't, it's not a 2-story kitchen where they're having different cooks for everything. They look at a menu and they think, all right, when we have people come into our facility, we want to try to serve everybody, right? We don't want somebody to be left out. But in your own business, it's tough to do that, though. Again, Dean, you're right. If you have the key ingredients for some things, but it's tough for us to do so many things. And what I mean by that is we always sometimes will have a client come to us and said, oh, you guys should make this. We would sell a ton of it. And what do we end up doing? We end up going way off of what we normally do. Right. And we sell something. In our world, we have experienced that a couple of times where we sell something that's like, hey, this isn't in our lane. And guess what? It becomes a little more difficult to deliver because it's not in our lane. And that's kind of real the focus is what do you do? What is the one thing you want to focus on that's going to deliver excellence and build trust? Again, what products or services are you doing that lose trust? And those are the things you got to focus on. So
Yeah,
Uh,
you see McDonald's having issues around that, right? They're always throwing. It's like, hey man, stick to burgers.
oh yeah.
You
And
know, stick to your burger.
I usually show the McDonald's video. I show the 13 seconds when he goes up to the first McDonald's and gets his foods and fries. It's usually like within seconds, right? He pays it's 30 cents for a cheeseburger, fries, and a drink, right? But he gets that, and he's like, wait a second, this is my food, but it was excellence. And now everybody's trying to do a lot more things to get market share. So it's funny you say McDonald's. Anybody ever try to get a McFlurry from McDonald's?
Yeah.
So you know there's actually a company out there that's called McBroken.com where you can look up what McDonald's milkshake machines are not working.
Oh, really?
So you talk about lack of trust, right? You know you're in trouble when there's a website out there that tells people what machines are not working and don't go there. So
Oh, wow.
you know that you talk about rebuild.
The WOZ of milkshakes, huh?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and they're good. They're good when they're working and they're on. But man, there's nothing like taking your kids through at 9 o'clock waiting to get milkshake, and the machine's down, and you're like, man, Chick-fil-A just closed, so I'm in trouble now. So, but what do we do, right? So, all right. So for my Texas folks, who's been to Buc-ee's?
Oh, yeah.
They've got one out here in
Yay, Bucky.
North Texas out here.
Yeah, right. It's a lot to choose from.
Yeah. It's a lot, but does anybody know they have 2 operational standards that they want to achieve all the time? What do you think they are?
Clean restrooms.
Clean restrooms. That's their number one. They put 2 attendants in every restroom to keep them clean and people going through there at all times. That's the focus.
Because a lot of tourism comes through there at Buc-ee's, right? People are traveling, and
They are traveling.
Yeah, they get travelers all day, every day. So I could definitely understand that. That's key.
But think when you're traveling, Ronnie, when you pull off the interstate and you see this random gas station, but you know it's the only one between Dallas and El Paso. There's probably not a ton of gas stations, right? So,
right.
Where when you pull off and get off and go to some of those random gas stations, what are the things you worry about? One is, does it have a clean bathroom, right?
Yeah.
And then the other is the other thing Buc-ee's wants to focus on is how many are you able to get gas, right? How many pumps are there? So that's why you look at Buc-ee's, and that's why they average around 100 pumps. There's no semis allowed. They just started letting RVs in, but no semis. So no tractor trailers. And every time you go through, you're going to get a clean restroom.
Yeah.
So they say Buc-ee's focuses on those 2 things. They say if I can get you gas in and out and have a clean bathroom, guess what? Everything else, when you come in, we're going to give you the experience where you're going to leave spending $60 to $100.
No, it's correct, right? Because they get you in there for foot traffic, and you stay. You shop around, you move around, aisle to aisle, or unless you go over to the food court and order the food.
Well, and look how they have. So operationally, when you think about it, look, if you've ever been to a Buc-ee's, where are the restrooms?
On the right.
They're not up front. They're in the back. So you got to walk through everything, right? You got to walk through everything. So you smell everything, see everything. You're like, man, as soon as I use this restroom, I'm coming out and I got to spend like $40. So
yeah, that's great.
But that's what they focus on. So when you think about business and what you're doing in operations, is what do you want to deliver? What are the things that where people say, if I get this every time, I'll get the extra stuff from you. Disney, I think we talked about this. I like to use this example. Walt, one of the things he wants to make sure at Disney that you have a really clean facility, right? And so what he ended up doing was he had a study of how far people walked before they needed to throw away their trash. So actually, he found out that you walk, by the time you buy something and walk, it's 20 to 22 feet before you need to throw it away. So he had trash cans put out through the park to make sure that it was clean as possible. So it's just interesting when you figure out what your operational excellence is, what do you have to do to measure it and put it in place?
Right.
All right. So flying a Delta, I think I've given this example. We'll say, all right, guy, being in Florida, are you a Delta guy?
American.
All right. Well, so when you travel, what are the 2 biggest frustrations you have with any airline?
Delays. I don't know.
Delays, and then there's another one. Everybody carries them on now instead of checking them.
Oh,
Bag.
is there room in the overhead?
Bags,
Yeah.
right? Because they thought everybody stopped checking bags. Because why? The
They
airlines were losing them, right?
Yeah.
So what you look at the airlines recently, and this is, I think, Guy, I don't know anything about American. I know United and Delta definitely put a full front on it, is communication, right? So out of Atlanta, obviously fly Delta a lot, but I mean, they were telling me when my bag was checked, scanned on the plane, when it was scanned off the plane, where to go pick it up. So it was like, all right, they're gaining my trust now that, okay, I'm getting some confidence here in my baggage, right? So
Yeah, American does that too.
do they? Okay. And then now when anytime I'm delayed or change anything, I'm always getting alerts and messages. The airlines have figured out that they say, look, we know we're not perfect, but we have to do a better job communicating to the client, us, of what's going on, right? So they've used technology a little bit to help with that, but obviously kind of give some examples there.
So, but I guess I don't want to come off negative, but like you fly Delta because Atlanta's Delta, their largest hub, so you're loyal to them, and then you obviously are, get miles and status, and but I feel like, the right way to say it, with some of these airlines, for the casual traveler, they're always just looking for the cheapest flight. So, sometimes I feel like American really doesn't care
Well,
about
and
the traveler because the traveler isn't loyal to the airline as much.
yeah, that's a good question, because you are going to have loyal raving fans of your. I mean, like my father-in-law he's a fan. He actually lives near Tampa, but he flies American a lot. But he's got the points and things like that with American. He's always flown them. So I agree with you that you do have loyal customers, and then unfortunately, what it comes down to, the ones that are just shopping, as what you kind of mentioned, the casual person, and you got to think about this in your business. Guy, I no offense to the casual flyer, but sometimes as a traveler that flies every other week, it's like, man, I wish I could go help them understand how to do a little better job traveling, right? So we have to do in our business, think about that, is we're going to have our loyal customers, our raving fans, but also those that are just casual shopping. How do we get them hooked on us to really teach them? So it's a good example.
The other side of that is you'll get more value out of your highest value customers. So even if you maintain those or maintain their loyalty, that's better than trying to spend against those that are just shopping around. Also, if you increase prices, your most loyal will move with you, versus again those that are just looking for it on a price basis. So it's more efficient, more effective to go after your highest value customers.
Well,
I agree with you there, because I guess I'm not the casual. I'd rather pay more to fly American than another airline, a little more.
I would too. Like when I'm with Delta, I mean, I'm loyal to Delta, but I will pay a little extra to make sure I fly. Nothing against United. I was telling Rodney, I got to go to Pennsylvania, and it was either a United flight got me closer, but I was like, I'm gonna fly Delta just because I have a lot of trust in Delta right now, which might be the wrong thing, but I do. So
I have trust, but it's when you're, I guess would they probably do a better job? Maybe this is the other spin on it, is if you're loyal to the airline, you get status, you maybe get the board quicker or sooner, and make sure you get that overhead space that at the end there isn't. And to me, there's value, and I'm willing to pay that, and I think there's a lot of people who will.
But it's a good example, Guy, because I mean, you think about your clients that keep coming to you and buying from you, or your repeat customers. What are you going to do for them? They're your frequent flyers, right? Like those are the ones that you want to create a lot of value for, and then hey, if you need to give them a reward or something, you will, versus the one-time shopper.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
So It's
I love
good.
Southwest. I love Southwest Airlines.
I like Southwest. To be honest, I do. Like I said, Southwest and Delta are my two, but you know,
Yeah.
Rodney, I hate Southwest.
I'm not a fan either.
Nevin and Guy, I tell you, leave it to them two right now.
You know, well, first, I've actually looked at flights I have a son who's going to law school in Columbus, Ohio, and the options are American, Spirit, and Southwest. Southwest is the most expensive always, but that, you know, I guess, and maybe it's just the stigma I have. I want to know where I'm sitting.
Okay.
You know, my impression of Southwest, from what I've heard from people, is you get a group of people who pretend they need assistance to get on the plane just so they can get the premium seats, and then when they land, they run off. You know, I want to know where I'm. You know, so I want to know where I'm sitting, and I'd rather, you know, have that. I'd rather pay for. You know, that's something that I see value. The stress of not knowing where I'm sitting, you know, it's not for me.
Yeah, I call it the flying bus.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, we as we talk about this, you have to understand, like the last one we talked about is our customer insight, right, guys? Right. You have to understand who are you selling to, what are you selling to, and then go after it and dig in, right? I mean, you look at all the different industries that are out there. And I know we're talking about the airlines, but each airline tries to focus in on one customer. Delta, I'll tell you right now, they want the business traveler, right? That's what they're going after. That's why they do the rewards, the perks and things like that. Southwest, I think they want the family traveler, right? But there's different things in a different field. Again, they all have their different focus. Now, everything else they get would be gravy, but what is your profile that you're trying to sell to? And then if you know who you're selling to, how do you deliver, right? So like, what's the map? How do we show people? So Domino's, again, we're not going to go into if you like Domino's or not, but Domino's tracker, anybody ever seen this before?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's perfect because now all of a sudden the Domino's tracker creates trust because I'm actually, even though I don't know if it's real or not, like, but it does move along and then it tells me, hey, it's out for delivery or it's ready for pickup.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's pretty accurate too.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the other example I love is Uber, right? I mean, we've all been there before. We had an early flight at 6 a.m. and we were nervous that the guy for the shuttle is going to come to work that morning to take us to the airport, right? And Uber or whatever tool you use now, you create this trust with communication of, hey, there is a car on its way. Here's where it's coming from, or they're already there. You get alerts. So, Dean, I didn't know if you were about to say something. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you mentioned Uber. There's a lot of companies that now have these tracking apps like Instacart. I use it all the time. Since COVID has been around, I try not to go to the grocery store as much.
Well, there's a lot of services that come alive since then. So
yeah, even like Amazon does it. You'll get a message. We're 15 stops away.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, guys. That's perfect transition. All right, Amazon. Yeah, exactly. You'll get alerts. But so let me ask this: again, Amazon's a love-hate. But what happened to them? It was like 2 or 3 years. It might have been 3 years ago now. It's been that long. What was happening to all their packages during the holidays?
They're getting stolen.
Stolen, right?
Yeah.
As we talked about, they looked and said, all right, we're giving great service. We're telling people where their packages are. They can track them, but we send them a delivery notification and then they get home and they're gone, right? So Amazon now has the ecosystem set up to where they got to come close to your house, the geo, and take a picture of the package near your front door to deliver that trust, right? We as consumers lost the trust because we're like, wait a second, you did everything else, but you didn't deliver. What happened? So they had to do this to get there. So again, when we talk about operations, we can relate to these things, but it's truly what do we have to do to be excellent every time in our business, and how do we deliver? So here's two examples.
Interesting. Soon, the mayor of Frisco was at the startup week up here, and he made an announcement that Frisco will be the first city that will start delivering drone packages.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Dean, we'll have to have a follow-up call. I'd love to hear about this. So,
Oh yeah.
But as we move into another example of Jimmy John's and Subway, right? Operational excellence is what do we want to focus on? We talk again, the customer insight, creating the customer profile. So with Jimmy John's, who knows what's their marketing phrase?
Fast.
Freaky fast. Freaky fast, yep. And Subways. But again, nothing wrong with either one of these companies, right? But they've understood what does the client want. If you go to Jimmy John's, guess what? When you order a sandwich, guy, why is it freaky fast?
I mean, I could drive on my way there in 3 minutes, and I walk in and it's already ready.
Yeah,
they're just.
And they've got like 8 people there making sandwiches always.
but go a little deeper. When you order, what can you do with your sandwich?
Oh, you customize it. Yeah, you get it as you want.
No, you can't. With Jimmy John's, you can't.
So they've got the fixed items, right? So they automatically have everything already measured out, so they can make the sandwiches quicker.
I mean, really, exactly. Their sides, I think, are lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and you got salt and pepper, and you might be able to put mayo on it. But guy, you might be able to get once or twice at something added, but usually those are the things I've seen. But when you go to a Subway, you get to pick your bread, you get to pick your meat, you get to pick your lettuce. Again, nothing wrong with that, but you have to understand who's your client to have operational excellence. If you don't know who your client is and you're just saying, I'm going to do this and go all over the place, you won't be successful. And people will say, hey, don't mess with those guys. They're all over the place. They don't know what they're doing.
You know what's really funny, because you're right about Jimmy John's, because I always want mustard. But I never get them to give me mustard. They said, well, we'll give you packets of mustard.
They give you a packet,
And I never want tomatoes, but I always have onion and lettuce. But you're right, that's the only thing you get. Onion, lettuce, tomatoes, and mayo. Right, yeah.
But
I think it's the opposite of cheesecake. It's very,
it is.
So maybe that's it. I mean, but you can pick bread, you can pick it wrapped in lettuce instead, and then you can, there's maybe 5-6 items with tomatoes or without tomatoes or with mayo or oil and vinegar. There's a few. So I guess maybe it's a combination of the two.
If you think about their brand, though, everybody knows them for being freaky fast, right? To be freaky fast, you have to be laser focused on what you offer. And if you start offering so many different variations, right? I mean, you could do the math out, right? If you got 5 breads, 10 meats, 10 cheeses, what all of a sudden the combos we're going to get? I've got 400 sandwiches I could probably make right off the top there, right? How can you? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what their clients want. Again, I'm not saying anything wrong with either one of these businesses. It's more of understand what your clients need. When I go to Jimmy John's, it's exactly what you need, guys. I need a sandwich in 2 minutes because I've got 5 minutes in between calls. Right. I need to scarf something down real quick. So
and they focus, I think, on pickup and delivery because there's like 5 seats in the place.
Yeah, they do, but they can deliver because they know they kick them out fast, go deliver it, and get right back and go to the next one.
But Matthew, as you know, all of this stuff is time, right?
Oh,
so imagine, I when I was in college, I was doing an internship here with Yums with Pizza Hut. So imagine. Okay, you have delivery. So you want to guarantee that the pizza gets there in 30 minutes. So it takes 20 minutes for you to get it through the oven, right? Through the oven process. So you have to calculate all of this into getting it there to the person's home, right? And then like when I worked at Wendy's and I did my internship there, okay, Wendy's drive-through time is 27 seconds. And the front, if you come in the restaurant itself, is 15 seconds. So you got to have everything ready. That means burgers ready to go out on somebody's bun in 15 seconds.
Or it's not just have it ready, Dean. I think as we look at businesses, right? If I needed to deliver a pizza in 30 minutes, one, I got to look at what's my radius I'm going to sell to.
Right.
I'm not going out more than 5 miles, maybe, right?
Exactly.
But also, then I got to go look at technology. maybe I'm not investing in the standard pizza oven, the brick oven that takes 25 minutes to cook, right? Maybe I'm going with some hyper or high intense infrared system that just I don't know that you might know a little more about the inner workings, but all of a sudden as an owner, if I said, if I'm going to commit to 30 minutes, right, that's where you got to drive from, is saying, all right, this is my standard. And now how do I build that? Right. So that there's the offerings. Dean, you know, if you got delivered within 30 minutes, 15 minutes, cook the pizza, you're not going 22 miles away from the store.
Oh no. Oh no.
Unless you're getting a big tip. You know, then you might. So, you know, as we talk about these things, we talk about consistent excellence, right? And what are we doing? We've been talking about that as just being very consistent with what we do. Apple, Chick-fil-A, Amazon, you guys, we know these examples, but what are some of the businesses you've been working with that are struggling with this? I mean, when you deliver excellence, people talk about that, and that's the free marketing that, you know, you can't pay for things when you're delivering excellence and doing the right things. People will tell other people. Leanne and I tell other people all the time, is like, oh, I had a great experience here. This is what went. Okay, great. I should try it out. Now there's an ice cream company that she liked, and she sent me a sample, and I loved it. And now I'm in love with them. But it's you know, these are raving fans, and what happens was when you're operationally sound, you then can do some of the other fun stuff. So as we talk about that, only a couple of slides here. Just first in sequence, can I trust you, right? Being inconsistently excellent will earn you the same trust as being consistently bad. Being inconsistently excellent will earn you the same trust as being consistently bad.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe worse.
We always could be worse, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, when you look at these tech companies, that is a classic example of them, right? Like the AT&Ts of the world, when it comes to like setting up service or missing appointments, they don't care. And that's their consistent mantra. Even delivery, how the wireless business even keeps going, I still don't understand. It's the only business in the world where they can fail. You can drop a call, but you still gonna buy the phone.
yeah.
You don't care.
I love.
They made dropping calls the norm now. Not building better networks, dropping calls.
I love it that you can, hey, I need to get my cable. I need to get new cable, right? So, and then they're like, well, we'll be out there between 9 and 6 to install it. And you're going, wait a second. There's no way. You got to, you know, then they call you about 5:45. Hey, we're on our way. So,
yeah.
But you know, I mean, here, you know, Xfinity or Comcast is, at least in my area, and I know it's a competitive business, but they've turned it around. Now it's like 2-hour windows, and you know, you'll get a text, he's on the way, you know, so you're not, you know, I guess if you run an errand now, you know, so they've improved it. And I guess in the social media age and people keep posting negative things, I think it's improved quite a bit.
Well, no, Guy, you hit it right there. I think there's been so much negativity around it because, one, there's no trust. No one believes in anything. And they say, how do we get out of this? And they're trying to do it where they, like you said, hey, text messages now, they confirm your order. They're on their way. They'll be there in 30 minutes. You might get a call. You're now getting a 2-hour window. So there are these things being done now because people are recognizing, hey, we got to do a better job. We can no longer get away with this stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, you know, especially the younger generation, they don't watch TV, they stream everything. So they're losing their customer base. So I guess you got to hold on to it.
You got to step it up, right? Got to shift. So as we talk about being inconsistent, I like talking about Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, and you know, I do have to work out. I don't eat out all the time at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A, but you know, McDonald's fries though are really, really good when they're made consistent, right? I mean, anybody had McDonald's fries when they were perfect?
Yeah, oh, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're great.
Crispy,
but they leave them under that heat lamp for more than 15 minutes, like they sometimes do. Then those fries are awful.
Well, there you go, right? We talk about inconsistency. It was, hey, man, you were really good one time, but the 9 other times I came through, good golly, that was rough, right? Where Chick-fil-A puts a lot of emphasis on just a lot on their fries. It gets down to the business model too a little bit. And we won't dive into all that, but just you guys
Yeah.
understand the example of consistency. What does it mean to be consistent? So
Hey, Matthew, can I
Yes.
throw out something? Because I'm steeped in CX right now on some of the stuff that I'm working on.
yeah,
And you may talk about this in some other sessions, but operational excellence is obviously what companies should strive for. But and it's easy to lose and harder to kind of maintain and build up. But that will only get you so far. And so the other piece that we in my company we talk about is kind of what's the surprise and delight, because you can only be so on time. You can only, your fries will get to a standard, but you can't exceed that. So it's you have to get to that baseline of good deliverable. But then the other piece is understanding their customers and figuring out some of those things that will excite them past delivering what you're supposed to be delivering.
I just needed you to wait like 4 more slides so we can that'd be perfect segue to our next one. But yes, that is when we talk about our engine, operations, you're right. It's more than just getting it right. I mean, this is the foundation. So we're going to be talking about personalized service and memorable moments. And that's when we're going to dive into like, how do you become more personal? What are the things you can do to get to know your clients more? And then what are those memorable moments you can create, right? That lasting impression. So no, yes, we are going to cover those, but yeah, this session is just more focused on operations. But man, I love where you're going, because that's where we're going to go over the next 2 sessions.
Okay. And then the other piece too is if we flip it and look at it from the customer side, I've been kind of looking at this from a customer, what we are calling kind of a customer effort.
Yep.
So we're trying to figure out how we can take a customer effort score. Because on the business side, you want to deliver operational excellence, but on the customer side, you want to make it easy for them to get whatever it is that they want to get. And you use the example of Amazon. To me, and I know they changed their rules, but returning something back to Amazon was the easiest thing to do, and that made all the difference in the world. Or Chick-fil-A or some of these other menus are very easy. They don't overcomplicate it. It's very simple. And so it's easy to facilitate whatever it is I'm trying to do with a lot of these businesses, which again makes a difference from a customer experience.
Yeah. And that's why we focus on simplifying what you're offering, is so your operations can be really good at what you're delivering every time. And then you can focus on the personalized stuff, the moments, right? The wow. If your operations is up and down all the time, guess what your salespeople and your customer service people are doing, or even the CEO's doing? You're making too many phone calls apologizing for things versus doing the fun, exciting things that you really want to do.
Yeah, and Nevin, I don't know if you were saying Amazon was good and not anymore, but the returning, they've made it easier. Because I'd return something and I'd have to go to a UPS store to drop it off. And there was always a line. Now I just walk into Whole Foods and there's someone there. You don't have to bring a box.
Nothing.
They just scan it, you're done, and I can get a text message. The refund is issued.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty easy, but I thought they had just changed some rules where they started wanting people to pay for returning or something.
No, they've opened up Whole Foods, especially here in Dallas, right? So Whole Foods is a drop-off point, and then UPS is a drop-off point. So they've given you enough drop-off points to make it very easy to return stuff back to them.
Right, and Kohl's is a drop-off point too.
Yeah. So coming from that world and working with Amazon, if you want to become a prime shipper with Amazon and have that prime badge, you have to be able to offer that free shipping back on returns. If you don't, Amazon will not recognize you as a prime supplier. They may on the front end, but you may not get a higher ranking because you don't meet all of their standards. So that is actually some of Amazon's dealings with their vendors, and coming from that world, there's a lot of things you got to jump through to wear that Amazon Prime badge.
The only time I've seen where they want to charge you is, I guess, when they ask you the reason. Like if you say, no, I just changed my mind, they might want to charge you. But if you say it didn't fit or wasn't what I expected, they,
But the vendor, when they set things up, items up, they can actually trigger those questions to charge you the shipping what for. So that's when it gets into that technical side.
Well, they definitely do it right because I buy a lot more things than I don't need.
Same.
Oh man, this has been recorded. I was going to say a story about my wife, but yeah, this is being recorded. So.
Well, I was really referring to her, but
I say I buy a lot of dress shirts. I try them on, and then I return like 5 of them. There you go. So, but no, Amazon's made it easy. But they've understood how do you get there, right? So, as we talk about those things, and we'll get close here. Is like, I mean, great questions. And so I hope you come to the next 2 because we're really going to focus on that personalized, memorable moments after this, right? But you have to be sound operationally before you can go to the other 2 and do that kind of stuff. So within your own business, right? Identify what are your standards. Make sure everybody knows the standards. Have consistent delivery and put a measurement behind it. We talked about that. Do we measure? Hire towards those standards. Training. These are some of the things, again, we can share this afterwards, but these are just some of the things that we dive into when we talk about what do you need to look at and what do you need to do with your operational standards. And the big thing at the end here, as we talk about, is it's great to have your standards. And this is why it might have been where you're going, is what does the customer journey look like, right? When you look at your operations and the journey, and what we want to focus on, this is a big piece we focus on, is the journey of where does your client go. Again, we dove into a lot more today, examples of standards and things like that, but this is, if you don't know your customer journey, this is an opportunity for you to whiteboard, like where does the client come in? Where do they see your advertisement? When do they get hit with calls, sales calls, proposals, things like that? And then your operation piece, I know you guys can't see what I'm pointing at, but it's this on the bottom of the second piece here, receives product, service, has questions or problems. That's your operations right there. Everything else is sales, customer service, accounting, executives within this. So your sales team has operational standards. Your customer service has operational standards. You don't just have to deliver products to be operationally. And I've worked with tax companies that do taxes. They have operational standards. Within your business, though, you have to look at within the journey, what are the standards within each segment. So I'm curious, who is it? Nevin, right? Have you guys done a journey map? I know you were talking about some of the other things working on.
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay. How'd it go? Can I ask you? Can I put you on the spot?
How did it go, and in what context is? What do you mean?
Were you successful with mapping out the journey?
I was able to map it out, but I think the leadership team really just wanted to focus on kind of what they perceived as a core competency. So I worked for DART.
Yep.
And the journey starts way before somebody catches a bus or a train, and they wanted to focus on kind of the operations part that's taking the bus and the train. So not about, looking at the website, is it easy, or how did they hear about it? All the things that are kind of before that, and then the pieces after that as well.
And I appreciate, because you said it perfectly. This is where a lot of companies get stuck because they think it's the middle piece is the only journey that they need to focus on. And so although a lot of our examples were just different operational and how do we deliver, the whole operational excellence, you have to have standards for the whole journey here. And I was just saying, I'd love to talk afterwards if you ever want to get connected. So just we could run around some ideas. It'd be kind of fun just to brainstorm a little bit. So again, what does the journey look like? You have to look at your operations and be able to deliver. And then the journey comes in through these, through marketing, sales, customer success, operations, and finance. What does it look between the whole journey here? And we can share all this. So Sonia, we'll get this one out. Leanne, you'll have to ping me. I don't think I shared it before, but we'll get this over to you guys. So, as we close here, does anybody want to share what? We only have a couple of minutes, but anybody want to share? Hey, these are my operational standards that you would want to share with the group. That, hey, with my company or what I do, this is what we strive to do. If I hit everybody with a lot of
Right.
content
Well,
here.
I can chime in, but because it's pretty easy for us. So we do a customer satisfaction survey on an annual basis too. We identified 6 drivers of satisfaction, but we found 3 were barriers for people to take DART or public transportation. For those that aren't familiar with Dallas area, but we saw timeliness, cleanliness, and security as kind of the biggest barriers. And so we had to look at that throughout our system to see how we can affect that, improve that, and re-engage our customers.
Well, it's perfect, right? I know I don't think you were there, but that's the customer insight, right? Is our surveys, what are we seeing? And now we create our new standards of what do we need to do to reduce those barriers. So hopefully you can see the two kind of piecing together. So by the end of this, we start creating the entire experience of what we want to create. So
Matthew, like I said before, like when you start looking at, the service industry, like what we're doing, and you well know what we're doing, all of this is relevant to every client, right?
oh yeah.
You say, what is your operational standard? And for us, it's like we're looking at 2 verticals to educate people on how, on how to, one, access capital or access contracts, but use all of this in the middle, right? Because some of them don't even have a business per se yet. They just got an idea, right? And then you got to perfect that, put that on paper in a business plan, and then get them to the right, service providers to help them scale and help them grow and understand how to build up their company. So I kind of think like, I think I played devil's advocate on the last one. So when you look at a service type business like what we're doing, it's kind of skewed a little different, because you're looking at, a person who has a business, either A, they're already operating or not operating, but got an idea from entrepreneurship, trying to help them scale and understand what to do and how to do it, right? So you kind of caught up in that well. Like, what are you really doing to educate these companies on how they get to the next level, but they're really not ready for that neither, right? So it's it's a lot different though.
It is, but you think about your mission though, and your vision is like, all right, let's say connecting to your standard would be, hey, I want to connect this company with I need capital, right? And how do we do that? So your standard is, I want to make sure I align the right 2 partners. So everything builds from that. Is that your standard might be, I want to make sure that I align partners that are perfect for each other. It makes sense?
Yeah, it does. But here again, you still caught up in the catch-22 because you're putting content out here like this to get them educated on how to, right? And when you do that, you have a client, and I'm saying this openly because, most of the clients don't understand the process of how to get there when it comes to capital, for one. Number 2, if they have a business, they don't understand some of this right here from an operational standard standpoint to understand what to do for their customer or who they're trying to provide the service to, that kind of stuff, right? So you kind of caught up in the middle of like, we're more educational to educate you on your operational standards or your financial literacy standpoint to understand that you got to have A, B, C, D, and E, and F to walk into the bank or walk into a private equity group, or a VC group or micro lender group or, family offices, because all those are different verticals, right? And they didn't know that they were looking for this. And the investor public didn't know they were looking for them. Right? They didn't.
Right.
Hey,
So
Ronnie.
yeah,
Ronnie,
right.
my observation is a lot of times they don't realize that this is either as or more important than some of the other things they're focused on. You got a lot of those folks that are just trying to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And they think that to keep the lights on, they got to do what they've been doing, just work harder at it versus some of these other things. And I think this is a great session to kind of think about, because that's what brings in the business, but they may have been focused on something else, based on what they know or what they've been doing.
No, and I appreciate you, Nevin, saying that, because that's probably 80% of the businesses. we've been focused on what we need to do and what we've been doing and how we get there, and not even worried about this right here, because this right here sometimes is Greek to them, and that's why they need to be more educated on the process of this and how it really works, so you can fine tune your company to get more companies to buy your products and services, that kind of stuff. So.
Well, it gets back to the old phrase. We want you to work smarter, not harder, right? And that's we're trying to outline some things that if you can identify things and put some key processes in place, it can make your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Try,
like the last session we had, I mean, we talked about it in this. I mean, you talk about this in a way that is good for everybody to utilize, right? But just when you go back to the customer service piece, nobody wants to buy your products or service or even give you money if you got a bad attitude, right?
Right.
So this is a lot of good for a lot of companies to understand. That's why I said we got to do a better job too, and position this now that everybody can see and hear, because a lot of people don't even get an opportunity to see or hear any of this. Zero. And I don't even want to get caught up in the numbers, what it can cost for a company to come in like yourselves and go do this work for other companies, when you can come in now and get this education and take it to the next level in your own company. So I just got to do a better job of spreading that message too.
Well, and again, it's you and I. That's why I said, hey, we just want to educate people, right? It's like bring some education out there for people to see. Oh man, I didn't think about that. Or oh yeah, look, there's a lot of good takeaways that we're going to talk about even over the next couple sessions. That there are good takeaways, but you also have to look at your business, where you're at. How many can I implement right now? Pick one or two, and that's focus on that, and then go from there and build from there, right? So. This is a key thing that unfortunately we miss a lot of the times that can impact our business. I mean, if you're not delivering and you're late and you don't have a good, relationship and a good character, guess what? The revenue is definitely going to go away. So
true.
Yeah, but Matthew, this is what's so funny about all of this, right?
Yeah.
They want to hire seasoned salespeople. All these major corporations want to hire seasoned salespeople. But if you go to college and you go to business school, they don't teach you how to sell. They don't have any of the programming in place. You don't learn how to sell in college. When you get out here, then you have to go through all the sales training. And if you've never sold before, it's hard to grasp the concept, right? And then I'm just giving you an example of where I've worked before. So I give you a classic example. Microsoft, they expect sales reps to have zero in the age of analytics, which always baffles me. You have no information on your clientele. Walmart's our largest client. You're going to tell me you don't have anything on Walmart? You don't know what software they already have in place. You don't know what already they have over there that you can kind of piggyback in on what your competition has over there, but they have all this software that we don't use, like discover.org and Rain King and Zoom Info. And you're like, hey guys, you got me going to battle with both hands tied behind my back and expect me to pull off a miracle and not get fired.
Well,
good luck on that.
And when that's unfortunately sometimes with a big brand name too, a lot of companies don't go that extra step to gather the insight or look at their operations like this, and because they have the brand name that they think can open the door and get them through places. So but no, I completely agree that there's the real life training and experiences. We can have a whole other session on that, because it goes a long way with knowing how to sell and getting out there. I won't bore you with any more time here, but yeah, I mean, my first sales job, luckily I had a gentleman that sat me down and told me, had a reality check with me and really told me how I was doing. And that kind of changed my whole perspective on sales. So, but more listening than vomiting news or information on people. So
Guy, you had a question?
Yeah, Guy.
I mean, I have to ask the question, and maybe it's something to look at is in the next sessions, but I guess how do you view cost coming into play? Like if we talk about Marriott and whether it's 50% or 70%, there's obviously some acceptable number, because maybe 90% would cost too much. So we'd have to charge more, and then it would price you out, or even like Buc-ee's, where I guess making sure the bathroom's clean, they've probably done, the research that, hey, if people see the clean bathrooms, they're going to come in and spend $50-$60.
Well, and that's
or
why,
whatever it is.
Well, can I answer that real quick for you, Matthew?
yeah, go for it. Yeah, I
Please.
love it.
Let me give you a scenario. So when I worked at IBM, I used to cover Las Vegas, right? And Harris was one of my clients. So all the major casinos were my client. And one of the problems that Harris wanted to solve, if they can take 3 seconds of getting a drink to you faster than they normally can, they already had calculated that would exponentially grow their bottom line. 3 seconds. So how could we, IBM, take our technology and improve that process to take those 3 seconds off? So companies have this all figured out. Believe me, they have it all figured out. But how to solve the problem is they haven't figured that out yet. But they know the matrix.
No, I know.
Okay, I mean,
but like when you talk about Marriott, I would say more than half the time when I go to check in at a hotel, I'm waiting in line to check in. So yeah, maybe they need more people.
Well,
but more people cost, so maybe that's why maybe 70% is acceptable. There's a cost to, to be 90%, maybe it's cost prohibitive. I don't know. I'm just,
right.
There's nothing wrong with waiting in line. You wait in line at Chick-fil-A, but it's how long do you actually wait in line is the key measurement, right? They actually know you're going to have to wait in line. They want you to get through the drive-through between 12 and 14 minutes. That's their metric. They know you're going to have to wait because they're so busy, but what's the metric to solve that? Right? They say, all right, we need to do whatever we can to minimize it. It's not going to be perfect. There's never going to be nobody in our drive-through, but what's the key metric we need to measure? The thing here is to identify what are your operational standards. I think, Nevin, you said it. You guys did a customer survey, and out of that, you realized, hey, there are 3 things that we needed to fix, right? So you now identified your operational standards. Now, from that, you have to develop your measurements to take action.
Exactly.
Right? It's not that, Nevin, I don't know what it is. I heard you say cleanliness, right? I don't know what that regards to, but all right, you say cleanliness is an operational standard. We want to be clean. Okay, that's great. That sounds really fancy. Like, yeah, we all want to have clean places, but now what does that mean? And that's what I mean is identify what we want to do, and then you build the KPIs and build a structure from there.
Yeah.
Well, I know, Matt, we dragged you and Leanne over time today.
It's fine.
Well, this is good because hopefully, maybe if somebody sees the recording or something and sees some of the conversations, they jump in and understand. So
yeah, and like I said, we have to do a much better job, at pushing this out to the mass and really getting people engaged. I think it's warranted for every company that's in the system. I think 400 plus now, but we're getting ready to drive a lot of business into this, and we need to really start to promote this in other ways outside of just the communities. We get people engaged a lot more and stuff. So,
the conversations have been good. The questions have been good, and the examples have been good tonight. So hopefully you guys will tell each other, tell some others about the content. And then I think, Leanne and I'll piggyback with Sonia and set up a call, and I think I got a good idea to help with that too. So.
Okay, cool.
So, but no, I mean, guys, for coming in tonight, I appreciate the insight because, honestly, I wrote down 4 or 5 things that I took notes on so it's good, and I think these are always good sessions because there's a lot of good dialogue that comes out. So it just you start processing and understanding. So
I appreciate it too, and also I like the quotes that you actually put in there as well.
But we can share those with you, so I don't mind sharing that. So.
So, Matt, Leon, team, everybody on the call, thank you for joining tonight. We'll get it out a little bit earlier, and we'll start to push a little bit harder, Matt and Leanne, for sure. Try to get everybody engaged because we really want a lot of engagement anyway, because I know it's a lot of Q&A out here that people really don't know and don't understand, and they really want to be able to get some answers to their growth, to their own companies. So again, thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Matt.
Sure.
That when people see the word operational, though, they don't think it's a nice, sexy word. Sometimes they're like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that tonight." So,
But hey, listen, you made it sexy, man.
there you go. There you go.
All right.
All
We'll
right.
see you next time. Y'all have a good night, man.
Yep.
Great rest of your week as well. Okay.
Yep. Thank you all
Thank you,
very
you
much for
too.
being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, bye.